Hey there, and welcome to episode 2 of the California State Panthers Hardcore Team Builder Dynasty. And this is the first recruiting update, and it'll arguably be one of the longest and probably least impactful of these updates. And that's just because it's the first time we're going to set up the board, and we're only adding 1 and 2 stars because of the recruiting restrictions. As we talked about in the first episode, what those recruiting restrictions are is we're only recruiting within our prestige level. So the California State Panthers are only 1-star prestige, so that means we're only going to be recruiting 1 and 2-star prospects. We're only going to be recruiting within the state of California off the interested list. No Jucos, no athletes, and finally we're not going to scout any of the players, which is one of the biggest caveats because scouting is a huge part of the recruiting, and it's how you find all your gems. It's how you sort through the bad players that you add on the board. Are they a gem? Are they a bust? And this makes it a little more fun because you won't know what you got until you actually sign the guy on, and then you get a nice little present at the end of the year like, oh, he's a gem or oh, he's a bust. And this will slow us down quite a bit with the rebuild and make things a lot more interesting as far as anybody that knows what they're doing with the recruiting knows you're really OP. Once you know how to sort through these recruits and grab what you want, you're a lot OP. So this is all good changes that slow you down quite a bit. First of all, our team needs an offense or a quarterback and a fullback. And when we sort by state of California, we can see the options are super limited. We have 4 2-stars, 4 1-stars. So there's not much here. Our playbook is the pistol, dictated by our O coordinator, Darren Lee, and this is a quarterback-centric playbook. So what we're looking for is ideally a scrambler. And I'm going to try and add, we need 1, so I was trying to add 3 times as many to the recruiting process to, give us the best chance of signing that team need. So 3-to-1 ratio usually works out for us. And D. Sanders and K. Brooks are both scramblers, and we'll add Bishop just because he's the highest overall, even though he's a pocket passer, just to get that 3rd on the list. From the fullback position, once we sort, we'll see, again, not very many options. We have 1 2-star, 3 1-stars, so we'll add Rucker just because he's interested, Jay Small because he's only 2-star, and we'll get 1 more on the list here. Watkins is pretty high overall, especially for 1-star, so he's worth checking out. And that should round out our offensive team needs and get everyone that we need, at least enough targets to start with. Also, I'm not going to add any players after a couple weeks because there's also a little bit of a cheese as far as if you're sorting by locked players after a couple weeks in, you can find a lot of value on the recruiting board of guys that just they haven't received scholarships. So you can pick up a lot of OP players a few weeks in. So this is the board we're going to run with once the season goes on. Regardless, I'm not going to go back in and dig through guys once we purge guys that we find out aren't interested and such. As far as the cornerbacks here go, we need 3, so that means I'm going to add minimum 9 quarterbacks to our interest, to our targets. And there's a lot of 2-stars, so we're going to go ahead and add everybody that's interested. Stat-wise, I'm looking to add anybody under a 4.6 40 or any other sort of stat that sticks out at us in any sort of way. High bench press, high squat rating, decent overall. We're looking for 60 pluses ideally. We're kind of taking what we can get because there's not a whole lot here. There are some 1-stars, but we're looking to improve, not stay the same. So I'm ignoring the 1-stars wherever we can, unless it's we run out of 2-stars and we have to grab some 1s like we did with the fullbacks. So this about satisfies our targets. We can see we got 9 targets to our 3 needs, so that's looking pretty good. The last position to check out is with our safeties. So let's take a look at the strong safety position. and see who's available here. Okay, only 2 2-stars, 3 1-stars. We'll have both 2s. We're going to skip the 1s. Maybe we should add another 1, but we want to keep a few targets open just to round out everything else. And that's 19 current targets, and that satisfies all our team needs. So to fill out the rest of the board, what I'm going to do is sort by interest and see how many 2-stars are actually interested in coming to the school. And these are guys that might not necessarily be from California. Probably most of them will be. But we'll have a decent chance of signing these guys because they at least already have expressed interest in coming to the school. I'm going to add lots of linemen if they're there, because to me the cornerstone of any rebuild is O-line and D-line. You know, if your O-line's strong, you're going to be able to move the ball. If D-line's strong, you're stopping the run, you're getting a good pass rush. So the skill positions can wait in most of the time. And the more depth you have on O-line and D-line, the better off you are. You know, depth is going to be everything, especially if you have any injuries or anything like that. You're going to want decent guys to be able to fill in. And we're going to go through and also potentially add any positions, maybe a couple more to some of the team needs, but I'm kind of looking for, again, stats that stick out, lock percentages that are favored on our side, good 40 times, good bench press, good squat ratings. We have a couple more targets here. Most likely I'm going to add these last 2 tackles, unless anything else we missed here higher up on the board, but I think we got everyone we needed higher up. So let's go ahead and add Washington and Pitts, and that should finish up our targets for the most part. Any of these 2-stars look any good? No, we'll just add these last 2 big tackles and call it a day here. So the next thing to do on the board is we got to go through and check to make sure we didn't add any Jucos, because I might have added a couple, or any athletes. I don't think we added any athletes because we didn't even look through those positions, so we should be good there, but those Jucos can sneak in there. And then also, you know, if we added in any terrible overalls, we might purge them from the board, because we're not looking for anything that's like a 50 overall or some such. And a little pro tip here, when you're organizing your board, whatever order you put the higher you put guys on your own personal rank board, it affects the recruiting, which a lot of people don't know. And it's not a huge bonus, but it does matter. Like if you have 2 running backs and one is your number 1 and one is your number 10 on your own rank, that it gives a slight boost. It's not huge, but it does happen. So it is a little tedious to organize the board, but it's a must do. I purged off on one of the lowest overalls here, so we'll just add one more player here as our last target. Let's add this big ass center, 6'7", 288. I like that. And when you're organizing your board here, if you're on the wrong tab, you'll get a little bit of lag as far as when you're moving things up and down. So you want to make sure you're tabbed to one of the tabs where it doesn't take a while to update, and the reorder process will go much smoother. It won't lag out every time you're moving it around. Generally what I'm doing here too is I'm just doing it based on overall. Nothing too tricky here about it. The only time I'm not going to put a guy higher or lower overall is if it's a specific skill position or a specific team need that I'd like to have number 1. Like if we have a punter per se that has a really high overall, I might put him at 10 on our list and keep a running back, quarterback, or wide receiver a bit higher on the list, or any sort of team need that we have more. Even if he's a lower overall, I might put him higher up. And you can do this based on position as well. Like do your quarterbacks 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever you need to do. But where it's not a huge boost, I just kind of do it by overall. Nothing tricky about it. And again, this is tedious, but it's a must-do. You can see we have a lot of high 50s and a lot of low 60s. So, but even so, our starting quarterback this year is a 68 overall. So these mid-tier 60 cornerbacks that we've added to the board would be really nice to pick up, because even that will help us out, especially in a year or two as these guys start to progress. And, maybe we get lucky and they're even a gem. If we could get a high 60, that's a guy that might even start for our squad come year 2 or 3. And these lower 50s probably aren't going to add out to much, but, we at least need to fill out our team needs. We got a few more guys toward the bottom of the list here that need to be organized. These tight ends, too, with a fullback as a team need, could work out as once we do position changes. A lot of times you can change a tight end to an H-back style role that can play fullback, especially if his height and weight are fitting to it. Like if he's 6'1", 250, that's a great H-back. Especially if they're coming from the tight end world and they already have good catching. So these other guys that are low 60s, they're going to be at top of the list, and you can see a 62 overall. He's making our top 10 even. And this is why this board's not too exciting, but it's worth checking out and seeing what type of board you'll actually get when you only have 1- and 2-star recruits to recruit from, and see how tough this rebuild is actually going to be, especially when this manifests a little later down the line, and you don't have a bunch of 3- and 4-stars and Jucos and athletes that are maturing on your team, and instead you're stuck with these 2-stars that are going to end up being your potential starters down the road. I did think we maybe saw a Juco down there. It looked like there was an extra high overall that probably is not a true freshman there, is what it looked like. 60 overall, that almost cracks our top 10 there. 63 overall probably is definitely in our top 10. Yeah, he's a 5th overall. Joe Williams, outside linebacker, 62 overall. He's going to be high up on our list. And we have a 66 overall tight end. He's going to be first on our list. That's the highest overall on the list for sure. At DN, 72 overall. He's got to be a Juco. There's no way he's a 72 overall as a 2-star. Yeah, there it is, Juco. So we're going to purge him. Just a couple other guys to reorder here. Let's bring up Noah Jennings, middle linebacker, 61 overall. He's going to be, top 15. Just a couple more of these plus 60s toward the bottom to bring up Travis Durbin, 62 overall. He'll crack our top 10. And we'll have one more prospect to add to the board because of the removal of that Juco, but probably won't be anything too fancy. And this basically rounds out our board and the prospects that we're going to add. And you can see how tough this rebuild is going to be now. It's not going to be easy to keep winning with these low overall players as your potential future starters. But this to me is what's going to make this franchise really interesting and really fun to follow. If you made it this far through the video, hey, you're awesome, and you're a stat guy like I am, and all this is interesting to you. If not, and you just zoned out through it, I appreciate you too. The updates further down the road to this won't be quite as long or involved in this. We'll just do really quick ones in the future because we'll probably just be cleaning up this board from week to week. And if nothing really interesting's happening, I might just skip it altogether. But the next video that we're going to drop this weekend is going to be our first game against Oklahoma State, and that'll be pretty cool. So come back by and check it out, and really appreciate anybody that came by and watched this video. So thanks a lot, guys. And goodbye.